The legendary Vietnamese pilot Nguyen Van Bay achieved remarkable aerial victories that astonished Soviet experts and struck fear into the hearts of even the most seasoned American pilots. This hero of the People's Armed Forces, Colonel Nguyen Van Bay, was born in Nguyen Van Hoa in 1935 in Hau Thanh Hamlet, Duong Commune, Lai Vung District, Thap Province. Growing up in a poor family with 10 children, he was the seventh child. In southern Vietnam, it was common practice to refer to children by their birth order, so the name Nguyen Van Bay, meaning Bay or seven, gradually became his primary identity. Around 1953, at the age of 17, he defied family expectations regarding marriage and joined the military, becoming a guerrilla fighter. In 1954, he regrouped to the north, and in 1960, he transitioned from infantry to the Air Force, embarking on jet pilot training in the Soviet Union. He initially learned to fly the Yak-52 before progressing to the MiG-15 and then the MiG-17. By April 1965, he had completed his training and returned to Vietnam, landing at Gia Lam Airport. From 1965 to 1968, he engaged in air-to-air combat, downing a total of 7 American aircraft, specifically 2 F-105s and 5 F-4s, earning him the prestigious title of Ace Pilot. On January 1, 1967, he was honored as a hero of the Vietnamese People's Armed Forces, holding the rank of First Lieutenant and Deputy Commander of an Air Force company within Regiment 923 of the Air Defense Air Force Command. Over time, he was promoted to colonel and held numerous key positions within the Air Force, including Commander of Air Force Regiment 937, Deputy Commander of Division 372, and Deputy Chief of Staff of the Air Force. In 1975, he took over Can Tho Airport and played a crucial role in managing other southern airfields like Tan Son Nhat, Bien Hoa, and Can Tho, also commanding missions in Cambodia. His very first combat mission in a MiG-17 was so extraordinary that it astounded Soviet specialists. From 1964 to 1968, the United States conducted its first air war of destruction against North Vietnam. Within a mere 2 years, 1966 to 1967, pilot Nguyen Van Bay flew 94 sorties, shooting down 7 American planes and assisting comrades in destroying many more enemy aircraft. He was proudly recognized as an ace pilot of the Vietnam People's Air Force. To become such an exceptional pilot, Nguyen Van Bay underwent intensive MiG-17 flight training abroad. Returning home in April 1965, he joined Fighter Air Force Regiment 923, codenamed Yen the Unit. His inaugural engagement with his comrades took place on the morning of October 6, 1965. Their mission was to use their MiG-17s to intercept a squadron of American aircraft intruding into the airspace of Bac Sun and Chi Lang. Around 10:10 a.m., Nguyen Van Bay's flight detected the enemy aircraft and decided to attack. However, the encounter was far from easy. The American squadron was not only technologically advanced, but also vastly superior in numbers. They immediately counterattacked the MiG-17 formation. Hero Nguyen Van Bay later recounted, "When our MiG-17s charged, they swarmed us, counterattacking with such intense gunfire that I had to constantly weave and dodge. When my MiG-17 started shaking violently, I knew my plane was heavily damaged. I risked everything, bolted out of the American formation, and looked for a place to land." Only after safely landing did pilot Nguyen Van Bay realize the extent of the damage to his MiG-17. It had been hit and severely damaged with 82 bullet holes. It was later discovered that an F-4 had fired a missile, which, though not a direct hit, exploded at extremely close range. Pilot Nguyen Van Bay's successful and safe landing of a severely crippled aircraft utterly astonished the Soviet experts, who regarded it as a rare miracle at the time. Never before had a jet fighter pilot successfully landed a plane with its tail section nearly shot to pieces and riddled with so many wounds. His first combat victory, downing an F-4, came after several engagements with American aircraft. While these initial encounters didn't always result in kills, they provided Nguyen Van Bay and his comrades invaluable combat experience, particularly in understanding how to overcome the MiG-17's disadvantages against more advanced American fighters in terms of speed, firepower, and technology. Pilot Nguyen Van Bay shared in a 2017 interview that since American planes were all superior to beat them, we had to have our own unique methods. Although the MiG-17 was far less advanced than U.S. aircraft, with Bay's plane only equipped with 3 cannons and no missiles, he and his comrades meticulously studied enemy tactics to find effective countermeasures. He explained, "Once we understood their moves, we had to use our own countermoves, getting extremely close to the enemy planes to engage. Their planes were larger, more modern, faster, and had more armament. Therefore, we had to get close and take risks to win. That's how, every time I squeezed the trigger, an American plane went down." Hero pilot Nguyen Van Bay's first confirmed kill was recorded in late April 1966 during a sortie to intercept American planes over Bac Sun. That day, ground control reported via radar screens that American aircraft were entering the airspace over Bac Sun and Dinh Xie. Immediately, a flight of 4 skilled MiG-17 pilots, including Nguyen Van Bay, Lu Hui Chow, and Tran Tru, led by flight leader Ho Van Quy, scrambled to intercept the enemy. Within minutes of taking off, they spotted a formation of 8 enemy F-4s. Pilot Nguyen Van Bay noticed one enemy aircraft flying apart from the main formation. His MiG-17 swiftly maneuvered behind the enemy, closed in, and locked onto the target. When he saw the entire F-4 framed perfectly in his windscreen, he unleashed his cannons, sending the F-4 plummeting. This marked the first American aircraft shot down by a Vietnamese MiG-17. His achievement of downing 5 F-4 fighter jets was a rare feat following his initial victory. In an aerial battle on June 21, 1966, pilot Nguyen Van Bay continued to demonstrate his prowess when facing American aircraft. In this engagement, his MiG-17 flight was tasked with intercepting a very modern American formation, led by an RF-8A reconnaissance aircraft, followed by 4 F-8 fighter jets. These aircraft were conducting reconnaissance of the railway system northeast of Kep Town in Bac Giang Province. Although the Vietnamese were at a disadvantage in both numbers and firepower, the Vietnamese fighter pilots remained undaunted. They calmly coordinated their attack, shooting down an F-8E piloted by Commander Cole Black. Another F-8A, piloted by Lieutenant Leonard XMN, was also destroyed by pilot Phan Ton Trung's MiG-17. 3 days later, pilot Nguyen Van Bay further added to his impressive record, showcasing the MiG-17's effectiveness. The battle occurred on June 24, 1966, when his MiG-17 flight, spotting a squadron of American planes dropping bombs from afar, unexpectedly plunged straight into the enemy formation. His MiG-17 deftly darted up and swooped down, throwing the enemy formation into disarray as they struggled to comprehend what was happening. Giving the enemy no time to regain their bearings, he pressed the trigger the moment the opportunity arose, and one of America's most advanced F-4 Phantom jets burst into flames mid-air. From 1965 to 1968, pilot Nguyen Van Bay flew 94 sorties and shot down 7 American aircraft. It is worth noting that at the time, the F-4 Phantom II was an incredibly formidable aircraft, considered by the U.S. Department of Defense to be the best fighter in the U.S. Air Force. Consequently, these F-4s were entrusted to America's most seasoned pilots. For this reason, Nguyen Van Bay and his comrades using MiG-17s to outmaneuver and defeat F-4s struck fear not only into the American pilots, but also the entire U.S. Air Force system. What surprised the American F-4 Phantom pilots even more was that they had been soundly defeated by a pilot of peasant origin, with little prior combat experience, and only a handful of air combat missions under his belt. Moreover, it was said that every time Bay fired his guns, the enemy aircraft would be destroyed mid-air. Later statistical records show that among the 10 pilots in the 5 American F-4s he shot down, only 3 managed to eject, the other 7 were not so fortunate. This represented an extraordinarily high casualty rate for the U.S. Air Force, especially considering that training a fighter pilot was estimated to cost an amount equivalent to their body weight in gold. According to pilot Nguyen Van Bay, when engaging in combat, he would fire all 3 cannons on his MiG-17 simultaneously, 2 23mm cannons, and one 37mm cannon. Since the effective ranges of these weapons differed, to maximize their combined destructive power, he typically fired at extremely close distances. On January 1, 1967, Nguyen Van Bay was officially declared a hero of the Vietnamese People's Armed Forces. At the time of this declaration, he held the rank of first lieutenant and was the deputy commander of a MiG Air Force company within Regiment 923 of the Air Defense Air Force Command. Subsequently, he was gradually promoted to colonel and held many significant positions within the military branch, including commander of Air Force Regiment 937, deputy commander of Division 372, and deputy chief of staff of the Air Force. In 1975, he took charge of Can Tho Airport and was involved in operating other airfields in southern Vietnam, such as Tan Son Nhat, Bien Hoa, and Can Tho, and performed duties in Cambodia. He lived a simple life. In 1989, Colonel Nguyen Van Bay retired and became the head of the Air Force Veterans Liaison Committee in Ho Chi Minh City. In 1990, he returned to Tan Phu Duong Commune, Sa Dec Town, Dong Thap Province, to cultivate a garden and live peacefully with his family. Despite his immense talent and numerous military achievements, hero of the People's Armed Forces Nguyen Van Bay remained a modest and humble man, deeply loved and respected by his neighbors. After years of dedicated service to his country, he did not rest upon returning home, but continued to contribute to his homeland and community. In his later years, Bay and his fellow wartime pilots frequently met with American veterans. In 2017, during a gathering in San Diego, California, Bay told the American veteran pilots, "American pilots were ordered to come to Vietnam to fight for America. If we didn't shoot them, they would shoot us. We did our job. That's the past. Now we are friends." Upon learning of Bay's illness, many American veteran pilots sent messages of sympathy and encouragement. David W. Vaught, referred to as Vietman in the Vietnamese text, an American pilot who fought in Vietnam in 1966 to 1967, expressed his sorrow, saying, "I am very sad. I hope he is still on this earth so I can meet him again." Vaught had previously remarked that Van Bay was an excellent pilot during the war. In 2018, when American veteran pilots met their Vietnamese counterparts, Vaught accompanied Bay to a performance at the Ho Chi Minh City Opera House. Bay even invited the American veterans to his farm. "He was so interesting," Vaught said. "I'm very happy to be friends with him and the others." That was a moment of friendship and reconciliation. At 9 p.m. on September 22, 2019, the legendary heroic pilot Nguyen Van Bay passed away at the age of 84 after a period of severe illness. During his hospitalization, many American veterans sent their condolences, showing deep respect for this legendary heroic pilot of Vietnam and the world. A street in Phuc Long Ward, Nha Trang City, Con Hoa Province, has been named in his honor. Dear listeners, the eternal cycle of life eventually claimed hero Nguyen Van Bay at 84, but his name will forever live on in the hearts of current and future generations due to the brilliance of his divine victories. They are called divine because he possessed so many qualities that few others could claim. Becoming a pilot in a rare and unconventional way, yet achieving unparalleled combat successes, flying a MiG-17 while downing 7 of the enemy's most modern aircraft. For when he was selected to train as a pilot, he had only completed the 3rd grade.